to just one more watch. Perhaps you've noticed a slightly different energy to today's introduction. Perhaps you've noticed that my aura has changed colour. Today we're going to be realigning our chis and polishing our chakras, finding our inner zen with the aid of the second hour mandala. Sorry about that. Where were we? Ah yes, the second hour mandala. The second hour mandala is the second watch by the brand. It's also the second Australian watch that I've looked at this year, and is the second last watch from my top 6 micros to look out for first quarter 2021 video that I released a couple of months ago. I do not envy you lot at the moment. There is just so much choice, so many good watches coming to market, either to order or pre-order or on Kickstarter, and indeed this one launches on Kickstarter on the 18th of March, so you've got about 10 days to organise your pennies. $420 US for the early bird specials on this one. Now you saw the pop-up, I'm sure. This video is sponsored by Second Hour Watches. If and when the campaign is successful, and I'm sure it will be successful, they'll be sending me one in the colourway of my choosing, and I will be choosing this salmon pink colour, but you do not have to. There's blue, there's green, there's black and gilt, there's a whole bunch of other colours, as I'll show you later on. Now, I review a lot of watches on the channel, and I must say, the attention to detail that is so clearly evident in this watch is outstanding. Similarly, the attention to detail was clearly evident from the 20-page press release that I received. Normally I get nothing, but I got a full press release. Now there was one interesting line that I extracted from it. You've heard me talk about kind of Gada watches going from the boardroom to the beach. Well, Second Hour claim that this mandala can go from the boardroom to the cocktail bar. So we're certainly on the dressier end of the tool watch spectrum with this one. Enough waffle, Jody. Let's flip the camera and have a look at it. Sorry about the nonsense in the intro. Believe it or not, a few years ago I spent 10 days in complete silence at a meditation retreat sitting on a cushion. 10 whole days without talking to anybody, without saying a word. I'm not sure I could do that again if you paid me. I make no apologies today, however, for the amount of macro footage that I'm going to use in this video. The macro lens does not lie. It separates the wheat from the chaff, and this thing looks amazing under macro. $420. Have you ever seen a dial like that on a watch at this price before? And it is all really crisp, really sharp, really clean, no rough edges anywhere. So all stainless steel tool watch with a screw down crown and 100 meters of water resistance, so it does have go anywhere, do anything potential, but it is very dressy, this one, I think. There is a lot going on, and quite deliberately so. Great dimensions though. I measure it at just under 40 mil in diameter, just under 11 mil thickness, about 10.8, and 45 lug to lug. So again, that really compact lug to lug dimension means it's going to wear well even on smaller wrists. 20 millimeter lug width, tapering down to about 18, back up to just under 21 at the clasp actually. Sized up for me, 7-inch wrist. This one weighs in at 120 grams, so about 30 grams lighter than your average 40 millimeter diameter dive watch would weigh. All stainless steel construction, stainless steel case, crown. It's a really interesting bezel. I'll show you that in close up in a minute or two. That is stainless steel as well, and a full stainless bracelet, solid end links and solid links. Now they're relatively slim links, but they have managed to include screws here, which is great to see, and it is a proper milled clasp. High polished chamfered edge, the logo, the Second Hour logo, again we're all about sacred geometry here, as you will see from the dial shots that I show you in just a minute or two. That is etched rather than printed on. Double security pusher, it's a milled clasp, and there are 3 levels of micro adjust. Check that level of finishing. Attention to detail, I talked about that in the introduction. Look at that bezel, 3 different angles, 3 different surfaces. The bottom 2 surfaces are brushed, the top surface is polished, and look at how that beveled edge sapphire crystal integrates so neatly with the bezel. Lovely case finishing throughout as well. Second Hour logo, again that kind of geometric logo on the crown, and the crown is going to be filled with loom, oil filled with loom on production units. This is a prototype. There's going to be a couple of changes. I'll talk you through those as I go. Lovely case detailing as well, lovely finishing, very fine brush on that mid case, and a fine brush on the upper surfaces as well. And check how slim that high polish bevel is. Just a lovely little bit of high polish running all the way to those crown guards. You'll notice as well, if I hold it at a slight angle, the brushing on the mid case transitions to a polish on the lower surfaces. That is going to mean it wears really, really comfortably. And that bracelet has 9 links, count them 9, 5 in brush finish and 4 in polish. And if I show you the end link, you can see it is recessed, so again kind of female style. That will drape very nicely, so 45 lug to lug plus inverted mid links there. This is going to wear a treat. Now I'll pop a link and show you the case back. So screw down crown, screw down case back, 100 meters of water resistance. That's the kind of forget about it level. So if you do end up having too many cocktails at the cocktail bar and end up in the sea or the pool, you're not going to be worried about your mandala. That is obviously a piece of sapphire crystal, displaying the Miyota 9039 movement with a custom rotor. As I said, this is a prototype. Peter, the brand owner, has assured me that customization, the etching, is going to look even sharper on production units. So the 9039 is the no date specific version of the Miyota 9000 series, 24 jewel, made in Japan, high beat 4 Hz auto. Now this one is a prototype as mentioned, but that's not a bad set of numbers. Stated tolerances for these Miyota 9000 series movements are -10 to +30 seconds variance per day. So do bear that in mind. Unless you're getting something that has COSC certification or has been regulated, there is going to be a bit of variance. In my experience, these Miyotas are pretty good, normally coming in somewhere between -10 and +10 variance per day. So have I covered all of the basics then? Can I get back to the macro footage of the dial? I should probably tell you that this one comes in 6 different colours. There's a pale blue, there's a dark blue, there's a black and gilt, there's also a green and gold if you're a patriotic Australian. They are going to be offering a date version as well as a stretch goal to the campaign. They're also going to be offering leather straps and various things as add-ons. I will show you the leather strap in just a minute or two. And as standard on final units, all of this stainless steel is going to be coated with an anti-scratch coating. Again, not bad for your $420, is it? Alright, back to the dial and back to the macro. I think it looks great, especially considering this one is a prototype. There's no rough edges that I can find anywhere. There is a lot going on though. I reckon there's at least 6 different layers, not to mention several different textures and about 4 different colours. So you're going to have to be okay with all of that. Let's start from the outside and work our way towards the centre of the dial. I guess the first thing you'll notice, the most prominent feature of this watch in some ways, apart from that guilloche mandala pattern in the centre, those 3 prominent double indexes at the 12, the 4 and the 8. Sacred geometry, I mentioned that before. This is clearly going to be a signature of second hour watches. Their first model, the Gin Clear Diver, had exactly those same 3 prominent indexes at the 12, the 4 and the 8. Something you're going to have to get used to, something you're going to have to get used to seeing with the brand, I guess. If they're going to be rolling with this theme, I guess it's going to pop up on all of their future models. So the top ones anyway are set in, I guess, what I would call a rehaut. Quite a simple grey colour here. There are Arabics at the 5, 10 and 15, but obviously not the 20. Then the 25, the 30 and the 35 again, just in white. There's an angled chapter ring beneath that in a pale silver colour with little squares on the 5-minute markers. Now they're actually raised. You can see them from certain angles sticking out from that chapter ring. Minute markers lined and also 1/5 of a minute markers lined as well. Moving in beyond that, there are applied indexes, again slightly larger ones at the 12, the 4 and the 8. Those extend into that guilloche pattern central dial. All those indexes are angled, they're high polished silver surrounds, and they're all loomed. I will show you the loom video in just a second or two, but let's talk about that mandala patterning, the guilloche in the centre. It just looks gorgeous, doesn't it? Second hour logo printed on top in black, and the word mandala printed beneath the pinion also in black. And it's a custom laser cut handset designed specifically for this model as well. I do like those tips, they remind me of some of the later generation TIE fighters, but I am a bit of a Star Wars nerd. All hands are high polished, and it's got one of those lovely diamond second hands with a syringe tip going all the way out to the edge, all the way out to that chapter ring where the minute markers lie. What about this loom then? BGW9, 8 layers of it on the hands and the indexes, and even after dark you can still see the prominence of those indexes at the 12, the 4 and the 8. This is a prototype, not particularly representative of the quality or the duration because there aren't quite as many layers on this one, but that gives you an idea of what production units will look like when you switch off the lights. So how does it wear? Well, it has all the right ingredients to wear well. Relatively compact diameter, compact lug to lug, bit of taper on the bracelet, it sits nice and flush and flat, and the whole thing is slim in the first place, and indeed it does wear nicely. 120 grams, it's one of these watches I could wear above the knuckle. I could comfortably wear it below the knuckle as well because it's that little bit lighter. I mentioned earlier on the kind of undercut, high polished undercut, nice and smooth surface here, and those crown guards means it's not going to dig into the back of your hand if you do choose to wear it below the knuckle. Legibility, silver hands against the salmon dial, perhaps not so much. Maybe some of the other colorways would be more suitable if that is a factor to you. It's not really what this watch is all about though, is it? And be sure to check the campaign for further details, but I believe these leather straps are going to be a cost option. The brown does go rather nicely with the salmon pink, I think. Let's get it back outside and let's have a look at the dial again. I think that's pretty representative of how pink that dial looks. It's not massively in your face, it's not particularly cartoonish. I think it goes quite nicely with all of those high polished surfaces on the head of the watch and also the bracelet. And there are many of them, aren't there? The high polished bezel, the chamfered edge, and all of those mid links. 4 of them, count them again, 4 high polished mid links. Don't forget the high polished edges to the bracelet clasp too. Pocket shot. Finally, I have found a watch that matches my pink shorts. I've had these shorts for ages and now I've got the watch to match it. But it is time for the moans and niggles section. What am I going to complain about today? Well, materially, I don't have all that much to moan about. It's very well made, it's well executed. Really, I'm nitpicking. I would have liked one more hole of micro adjust on that clasp just to bridge the gap effectively between those 2 links. And the crown, I'm not sure about the crown. Micro cross hatch reminds me of the Seiko Samurai crown. Certainly very grippy, but it doesn't really look like it belongs on this watch, and I don't really think it feels like it belongs on this watch either. Perhaps a more simple high polished crown would have integrated better with the overall look of the watch. And then there is the overall look of the watch. There is an awful lot going on here, and that is going to gel with some people, but not gel with others, and that's fine. And you are going to have to be okay with those prominent indexes at the 12, the 4 and the 8. Clearly it is going to be a signature of the brand, so either get used to it or move on to another brand. But overall, a very impressive watch. Great to see an Aussie brand making something this interesting and this different. Great to see a brand doing the right things with their second watch. A lot of micros, they start off with something, gets their name out there, gets a bit of traction in the market and gets the brand owner some experience in the development process. That usually means that the second offering sits way ahead of the first one. I'm not suggesting that if you bought the Gin Clear, you bought a bad watch, but if you bought the Gin Clear and liked it, I reckon you're going to love the Mandala. So there you have it, the second hour Mandala. Perhaps a little bit of sacred geometry is just what you need to re-zen your life. If you like the look of this one, and there's plenty to consider, I have to admit, particularly the indexes at the 12, the 4 and the 8, that's a style you're going to have to get used to. But if you like the look, then this watch is absolutely outstandingly well made, clearly thought out in every single minute detail. And that dial, the macro lens, takes no prisoners, and that one was a star. Thank you for watching. I will see you all in a future video.